For 20 years, Walt Disney World operated something that nobody expected Disney to build, and nobody expected to work as well as it did. An adult nightclub and entertainment complex built on a man-made island in the middle of Florida, where you could get genuinely drunk, dance until 2 a.m., and still be on Disney property. It was strange, it was successful, and then Disney decided they didn't want it anymore. This is the story of the downfall of the world's only adult theme park, Disney Pleasure Island, the idea nobody at Disney should have greenlit. Pleasure Island did not emerge from the same creative process that produced Epcot or Magic Kingdom. It was born from a specific problem: Walt Disney World's nighttime economy. By the late 1980s, Disney's guests were going to bed at 9 p.m. because there was nothing for adults to do after the parks closed. Universal was opening. The wider Orlando entertainment landscape was developing. Disney was leaving money on the table every night, and the company's leadership knew it. Michael Eisner, who became CEO in 1984 and who was in the process of transforming Disney from a company coasting on legacy to an aggressive entertainment conglomerate, greenlit the Disney MGM Studios, now Hollywood Studios, several new resort hotels, and the Downtown Disney expansion plan, a reimagining of the Lake Buena Vista shopping village into a comprehensive entertainment destination. Pleasure Island was the nightlife component of that expansion, and it was designed by a team that appears to have had genuine fun doing it. The concept was a thematic entertainment district built around a fictional backstory, the idea that an eccentric adventurer named Meriwether Adam Plesure had built an industrial complex on a Florida island in the 1890s, which had been abandoned and then rediscovered and repurposed as an entertainment district. The backstory was elaborate, the theming was specific, and the physical design, a cluster of buildings connected by bridges over a lagoon, styled as industrial waterfront, with outdoor performance areas and the New Year's Eve countdown happening every night at midnight, was genuinely ambitious by the standards of entertainment district design. Pleasure Island opened on May 1, 1989. With a paid admission model that allowed entry to all venues for a single price. It anchored what would become Disney Springs, originally Pleasure Island, then Downtown Disney, now Disney Springs, and served a function that no other Disney property had ever served, giving adults a place to actually be adults on Disney property. The fictional backstory was more developed than most entertainment districts bother with. Meriwether Adam Plesure was documented in signage, environmental storytelling, and physical props throughout the island as having been an eccentric and adventurous industrialist whose company, Plesure Industries, had built factories, warehouses, and a shipyard on the island, before disappearing under circumstances the backstory left deliberately mysterious. The reopening of the island as an entertainment district was framed as a rediscovery of his abandoned complex, and each venue occupied a different building that had supposedly served a different industrial function in Pleasure's original operation. The 1890s industrial aesthetic, exposed brick, corrugated metal, maritime rope and hardware, weathered wood, gave the district a physical character that was coherent, attractive, and distinct from anything else at Disney World. The bridges connecting the island's buildings over the water created a sense of genuine place. Walking onto Pleasure Island felt different from walking into a shopping mall or a hotel atrium. It felt like somewhere that existed for its own reasons. This level of environmental storytelling for an adult nightclub district was, by any standard of comparison, extraordinary. Disney applied the same imaginative investment to a space where the primary activity was drinking and dancing that it applied to Fantasyland. Whether that investment was justified by the financial returns is a separate question from whether it produced something genuinely impressive. It did both, the 8 clubs and what made each of them work. At its height, Pleasure Island operated 8 nightclubs and entertainment venues, each with distinct theming that Disney maintained with the same attention to detail it applied to its theme parks. This was not a collection of generic bars in a mall. Each venue had a concept, a backstory, and a physical environment designed to deliver a specific experience. The Adventurers Club was the most beloved, a Victorian-era Exploration Society clubhouse filled with memorabilia, artifacts, and audio animatronic characters, where cast members in character performed improvised comedy and storytelling throughout the night. The Adventurers Club was less a nightclub than an immersive theatrical experience with a full bar, and it operated continuously from 1989 to the closure in 2008. The specific combination of improvised performance, environmental storytelling, and the intimate scale of the club, with multiple rooms, hidden spaces, and characters who wandered between them, created an experience that had no equivalent anywhere in Disney's parks or in entertainment districts generally. The Comedy Warehouse was a venue for comedy improv and sketch performances, running multiple shows per night with rotating performers. Bet Soundstage Club was a later addition, opened in 1997 as part of a partnership with Black Entertainment Television, and brought hip-hop, R&B, and soul music programming to Plesure Island's entertainment mix. Mannequin's Dance Palace was the flagship dance club, a large circular venue with a rotating dance floor, featuring DJ programming and an energetic atmosphere that produced the longest lines on Plesure Island most nights. 8 Tracks was a retro venue themed around 1970s music culture, with a matching sound and aesthetic programming. Motion was an 18 and over club that skewed younger than the rest of Plesure Island. Rock and Roll Beach Club brought a surf bar aesthetic to the island. Cage, a smaller cage dancing venue that opened later, represented the most explicitly adult direction Plesure Island was moving in its later years. The New Year's Eve countdown was a signature element. Every night at midnight, Plesure Island staged a full New Year's Eve celebration. Fireworks, confetti, countdown, and the specific theatrical excess that Disney brings to anything it designs. For 20 years, New Year's Eve happened every single night on Plesure Island. The nightly celebration was both a genuine guest experience and a specific piece of marketing genius that no other entertainment district could replicate without Disney's resources. The Adventurers Club deserves specific additional documentation because its loss was the most discussed consequence of the closure, and because what it was doing had no parallel in American entertainment. The club occupied a building styled as a Victorian-era explorers club. Think a slightly more theatrical version of a 19th century London gentleman's club, filtered through Disney's design sensibility. The walls were covered with taxidermied animals, artifacts of fictional expeditions, portraits of fictional club members, and props that rewarded close attention. There were secret compartments. There were unexpected sounds. There were characters. The characters, Plesure Island cast members playing specific Adventurers Club personae, including the club president Pamelia Perkins, the aviator Fletcher Hodges, the antiquities expert Hathaway Brown, and a rotating cast of other members, moved through the club's spaces throughout the evening, interacting with guests, delivering comedic performances, and maintaining the fiction that the Adventurers Club was a real institution. The main salon held staged shows, reviews that combined character performance, audience interaction, and the specific energy of improvisational theater in an intimate space. These shows ran multiple times per evening, and no two were identical. The Adventurers Club was the single most discussed closed attraction in Disney fan communities for years after 2008. Fan-run recreations at DragonCon, annual reunions of cast members who performed there, and a specific cultural memory that far outlasted the venue's existence. All of this documented a level of guest attachment that exceeded what any Disney theme park attraction generated on a comparable scale. Why it actually worked, and why that was the problem. Plesure Island worked for a specific reason that gets underreported: Disney's operational execution. The same standards that kept Magic Kingdom immaculate, the same training that produced Disney's legendary cast member hospitality, the same maintenance culture that repainted attractions the moment paint chips appeared. All of that applied to Plesure Island. The bars were clean, the performers were professional, the theming was maintained. The experience was genuinely good by the standards of nightlife entertainment, not just by the standards of something Disney was doing for the first time. The admission model also worked: a single paid admission, around $20 to $22 in the early 2000s, allowed entry to all 8 venues for the night. This created a specific guest behavior pattern. People browsed. You could see a Comedy Warehouse show, grab a drink at the Adventurers Club, dance at Mannequins for an hour, and then come back for the midnight New Year's Eve countdown. The enclosed district model produced an internal circulation of guests between venues that maximized the entertainment value of the admission and encouraged spending on food and drinks across multiple locations. Disney's resort guests, the people staying at Disney's on-site hotels who were already invested in the Disney vacation ecosystem, were the natural Pleasure Island audience. These were adults who had spent the day in the theme parks and who wanted somewhere to go in the evening that matched the quality of experience they had come to Florida for. Pleasure Island delivered that. The problem, as Disney began to see it in the early 2000s, was exactly what was working. Pleasure Island was successful, adults loved it, and adults spending money and having a genuinely good time on Disney property was apparently not the kind of thing that fit the direction the company was starting to see for downtown Disney. The area was being reconsidered as a shopping and dining destination rather than a nightlife destination, and nightlife was specifically the category that Disney's evolving brand strategy was de-emphasizing. The specific tension that Pleasure Island created for Disney's brand management is worth examining. Disney's brand, the one that drives the majority of its revenue from theme parks, merchandise, and media, is built on family entertainment. The family of four spending $8,000 on a Disney World vacation is the core customer. Pleasure Island served a real and significant subset of that guest population, the adults, typically without children, who wanted quality nightlife. But the specific activities of adult nightlife created brand management complexity. By the mid-2000s, documented guest incidents at Pleasure Island, fights, intoxication-related events, and the general liability exposure of operating clubs serving alcohol under the Disney brand were being weighed against the revenue Pleasure Island generated. Disney is extraordinarily risk-averse about its brand. The possibility of a significant negative incident associated with a Disney-branded nightclub, something that generated national media coverage of drunk fight at Disney World, was a specific concern that the company's leadership weighted heavily. The BET Soundstage Club had also been the subject of documented tensions, and there were internal and external complaints about the atmosphere in that venue that Disney found difficult to manage under its standard operational frameworks. The BET Soundstage Club closed in 2006, 2 years before the rest of Pleasure Island, which was itself a signal of the direction things were heading. The slow death, removing the admission charge. The specific mechanism of Pleasure Island's decline was the removal of the paid admission model in 2006. Disney made the outdoor areas of Pleasure Island free to walk through, which transformed the district from a ticketed entertainment experience into a retail and restaurant corridor that happened to have nightclubs in it. The strategic logic Disney used internally, to the degree it has been described in reporting, was that a free-to-enter waterfront district would increase foot traffic, increase retail and dining sales, and make the area more competitive with the broader Orlando entertainment market, which had moved toward free admission entertainment districts. The Boardwalk and Universal's City Walk across town did not charge admission. The free entry model was industry standard. What Disney did not appear to fully account for was how completely the admission model had been creating the environment that made Pleasure Island work. The paid admission filtered the crowd to guests who had made a deliberate choice to be there. It created a guest profile that was relatively consistent in its expectations. These were Disney resort guests or deliberate visitors who wanted the Pleasure Island experience and had paid for it. Removing the admission turned Pleasure Island into a free entertainment space in a Florida tourist corridor, which changed the crowd composition significantly. The specific complaint that began appearing in guest reviews and industry reporting after 2006, the atmosphere shifted. The guests who had defined Pleasure Island's personality, the Disney enthusiast adults, the couples celebrating anniversaries, the 35 to 50 crowd who valued the quality of the experience, found themselves sharing the space with a different and more varied crowd whose interests and behavior patterns were less consistent with what Pleasure Island had been. The venues began to feel different. The Adventurers Club, which had always depended on a crowd that understood and engaged with its immersive theater format, found its audience diluted. The New Year's Eve countdown, which had been a magical shared experience in a ticketed district, became a logistical challenge in an open access space. The specific operational problem with the free entry model for the Adventurers Club was that its shows depended on audience participation in a specific kind of way. The immersive format required guests who were paying attention, who were willing to engage with the characters and who understood, or were willing to learn, that this was a performance they were inside rather than a background experience they were passing through. A ticketed crowd that had deliberately chosen Pleasure Island for the evening was more likely to produce that kind of engaged audience than a free access crowd that had wandered in from the parking lot. The crowds at Pleasure Island in 2006 and 2007, after the admission charge was removed, were documented in fan community discussion as noticeably different from pre-2006 crowds. There were more teenagers. There were more guests who were there because it was free, rather than because they specifically wanted to be there. The character of the district had changed, and the character of the change was in exactly the direction that made Pleasure Island's most distinctive product, the Adventurers Club, harder to sustain. The Comedy Warehouse also suffered from the admission change. Improv comedy requires a specific social contract between performers and audience. The audience accepts the format, engages with the suggestions and callbacks, and participates in the specific culture of improv theater. An audience that wandered into a comedy club for free because they happened to be walking by is a different social contract than an audience that paid admission specifically to be there. Disney's free entry experiment essentially proved, over 2 years, that the paid admission model had been doing significant work to create the Pleasure Island experience. By removing it, Disney made the district less commercially viable, less atmospherically distinctive, and significantly easier to justify closing. The closure decision. Disney announced in August 2008 that Pleasure Island would close its nightclubs on September 27, 2008. The announcement was made approximately 7 weeks before the closure date, a timeline that gave neither the performer community, the cast members, nor the longtime guests adequate time to process what was ending. The official Disney explanation was that downtown Disney was being repositioned as a shopping and dining destination. The specific language of the announcement emphasized a new direction for the area and the coming expansion of retail and restaurant offerings. The nightclubs, all 8 of them, would close. Raglan Road Irish Pub and Restaurant would remain open. The outdoor areas would remain accessible. Everything else would end. The reaction from the Disney fan community was immediate and intense, in a way that most theme park changes are not. The Adventurers Club specifically generated organized advocacy, petition drives, farewell events, and media coverage that documented the loss of a specific form of entertainment that had no equivalent anywhere. The Adventurers Club's combination of physical environment, character performance, and guest interaction was not a formula that existed elsewhere and was not going to exist elsewhere after the closure. The final nights of Pleasure Island were documented by fans who traveled specifically to record what they could of the experience before it ended. Cast members who had performed at the Adventurers Club for years gave what amounted to theatrical farewells in character, within a venue that the audience knew they were seeing for the last time. On September 27, 2008, the clubs closed. The buildings remained, the island remained. The outdoor areas remained open and eventually became part of the Disney Springs redevelopment. The 8 clubs were dark. The Adventurers Club building sat empty for years after the closure. Structurally intact, theming still in place, the artifacts and props still hanging on the walls as the building was locked and not maintained for active use. Photographs taken by journalists and fans who documented the building during the Disney Springs construction period showed the interior beginning to deteriorate. The props dusty, the lighting systems inactive, the specific atmosphere of an abandoned set where something had been happening until very recently. The building was eventually demolished as part of the Disney Springs redevelopment. The cast members who had performed at the Adventurers Club, some of whom had been in the same characters for a decade or more, were dispersed to other Disney roles or left the company. There was no formal archiving project to document the characters, the show scripts, or the specific performance traditions that had developed over 19 years of operation. The institutional knowledge that existed in the cast members' understanding of their characters and their relationships with regular guests was simply lost when the venue closed. The specific 7-week notice period, announced in August, closed in September, is the detail that most consistently generates bitterness in retrospective accounts from cast members and regular guests. Industry standard for closing a beloved entertainment venue is typically months of advance notice. allowing proper documentation, farewell programming, and the kind of community closure that respects what the venue meant to its audience. 7 weeks was not that. What happened to the space? And whether Disney was right. The physical space that Pleasure Island occupied was absorbed into the downtown Disney to Disney Springs redevelopment, announced in 2013 and completed in phases through 2016. The Disney Springs redevelopment added retail, restaurants, a bowling venue, additional entertainment options, and the expanded infrastructure that Disney had promised when it announced the end of Pleasure Island. What Disney Springs became is genuinely successful on its own terms. The restaurants, including the STK Steakhouse, the Boathouse, Wine Bar George, and multiple other high-end and casual dining options, are popular, well-reviewed, and generate significant revenue. The retail is substantial. The physical environment of the Springs-themed waterfront district is attractive. By the metric of dollars generated per square foot of commercial space, Disney Springs is almost certainly outperforming what Pleasure Island achieved in its final years. And yet, the Adventurers Club is still discussed in Disney fan communities 17 years after it closed. No venue has replaced what it did. The specific combination of physical environment, character-based storytelling, improvised performance, and a guest community that understood and participated in the experience produced something that, once destroyed, did not replicate. The Disney Springs that replaced downtown Disney and Pleasure Island is, on its own terms, a genuinely good entertainment district. The restaurant quality is high. The Boathouse, STK Orlando, Maria and Enzo's Ristorante, and multiple other high-end and casual options represent the investment that Disney made in the dining experience. The specialty retail is well curated. The physical environment, the Springs-themed waterfront with the water taxis, and the specific Florida landscape design is attractive. The specific thing it does not have is an evening reason to stay. Disney Springs is a dinner destination and a shopping destination. After dinner and shopping, guests typically return to their hotels or drive to the nearby entertainment options off-property. Pleasure Island had given Disney resort guests a reason to be on Disney property until midnight or later, a reason that generated food and beverage revenue, extended the guest's connection to the Disney ecosystem, and produced the specific feeling of a complete evening rather than a dinner that ended at 9 p.m. Disney's revenue modeling presumably determined that the incremental food and beverage revenue from nightlife guests was less valuable than the incremental retail and dining revenue that a shopping-focused district would generate from the full guest population, including families with children who were excluded from Pleasure Island's evening hours. The math may well be correct. The math does not address what was lost. As Disney entertainment veteran and author Kevin Yee, who documented the Pleasure Island era extensively, described what was lost. The Adventurers Club was the only place in the Disney entertainment system where the performance wasn't scripted. The cast members knew the characters and the world, and everything else was live. You'd see something different every single time. There is nothing else like it anywhere in Disney, and there hasn't been since. Disney's decision to close Pleasure Island and redevelop the space as Disney Springs was almost certainly financially correct. The retail and dining model generates the kind of revenue that justifies the asset. The Pleasure Island model, nightclubs, performers, ticketed adult entertainment, required operational investments and carried brand considerations that Disney decided outweighed the financial returns. The specific brand consideration was documented in reporting at the time. Disney was managing guest incidents and liability concerns in an adult nightclub environment. The combination of alcohol, late hours, and the Disney brand was producing a specific operational challenge that Disney's leadership found difficult to manage alongside the family entertainment brand positioning that was increasingly central to the company's strategy, the legacy, and what Disney has never replicated. Pleasure Island's legacy in the Disney entertainment ecosystem is most visible in what Disney has repeatedly attempted and not succeeded in replacing. The adult entertainment category that Pleasure Island occupied, quality nightlife within the Disney guest experience, executed at Disney standards, has been a specific gap in Disney's offering since 2008. Disney has attempted to address this gap with Epcot's Food and Wine Festival programming, with the Villains After Hours events, with after-hours events at Magic Kingdom, and with various after-hours offerings at multiple parks. These are all ticketed nighttime events designed to give adults a quality after-dark experience on Disney property. None of them replicate the Pleasure Island model because they are all theme park events rather than a dedicated entertainment district. The Disney Cruise Line has also provided an adult entertainment function that Pleasure Island used to serve on land. The adults-only areas of Disney ships include entertainment lounges, bars, and performance spaces that carry some of the DNA of what Pleasure Island was. The audience for cruise guests includes a significant number of Pleasure Island-era Disney fans who are consciously seeking what the entertainment district provided. What Disney has never rebuilt is the Adventurers Club concept, an immersive, character-based theatrical bar experience with improvised performance and an environment built specifically for the format. The concept has been discussed in Imagineering circles, and various forms of the club have been rumored for various Disney locations over the years without materializing. The specific loss is documented by every Disney entertainment historian who has written about the Pleasure Island era. Disney destroyed a unique entertainment product that had no equivalent in its parks or in the entertainment industry broadly, replaced it with a format, shopping and dining, that is replicable in every major city in America, and has spent the 17 years since occasionally acknowledging, through the behavior of its most passionate guests, that something specific was lost that has not been replaced. The immersive bar and entertainment concept that the Adventurers Club pioneered has, somewhat ironically, become a significant growth category in the broader entertainment industry since its closure. Immersive theater experiences, Sleep No More in New York, which opened in 2011, and dozens of subsequent immersive entertainment productions have demonstrated significant commercial success with exactly the format that the Adventurers Club developed over 19 years. The specific combination of environmental storytelling, character performance, and a guest who moves through the space as an active participant rather than a passive audience member is now an established entertainment category. The Adventurers Club predated almost all of these by a decade or more. The cast members who performed there were doing immersive theater with an audience of hundreds per night in a Disney entertainment district at a time when the concept did not have a name or a recognized industry category. The closure happened just as the broader entertainment industry was about to validate the model. Disney has not publicly acknowledged this irony, but the company has gestured toward immersive entertainment in its parks, with experiences like the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel, which opened in 2022 and closed in 2023. Its own story of a genuinely innovative experience that could not sustain itself commercially, and the Galaxy's Edgeland design. The specific form that the Adventurers Club represented, a moderately sized venue, a bar, characters who improvised with guests, a story that unfolded over an evening, remains unreplicated in the Disney system. The Epcot Festival programming, the after-hours events, and the various adult-oriented Disney experiences that have emerged since 2008 are all reactions to the gap that Pleasure Island's closure created. None of them are Pleasure Island. They know it, and so do the guests who remember what it was. 8 clubs, a midnight New Year's Eve every night, 20 years of genuinely adult entertainment in the middle of the most family-focused resort destination in the world, and a closure that Disney announced with 7 weeks' notice. Pleasure Island was the most un-Disney thing Disney ever built. That was also very specifically Disney in every detail of its execution. It will not come back. Disney Springs is fine, it is not the same. Hit that like button and subscribe. More content like this coming.